We ducked into the tomb because the sand was hitting like nails, and there was nowhere else. I told them it was safe. Don't roll your eyes. I've led teams through worse. The mouth of it was there, half open, a flat lintel and a low step down. We had minutes before the truck buried. The air in there felt cool and dead, and I said, "Inside. Now." Cal went first, then Rana, then Oren, me last, pulling the canvas over the entrance to keep the grit out. I'm the one who knows what seals and what doesn't. I checked the jam with my hand. It was fine. No weight, no give. We set the lamps. My ears rang with that storm hiss for a bit. Then it went to dust silence. Even our boots sounded soft. It wasn't a king's place. It was storage. Shelves up the walls, carved stone drawers with handholds, little bundles tied with twine. A room past that and another past that. Interconnected. You could walk in a square if you kept right. We did. Shelves of clay tablets stacked like loaves. A table in the middle with a big slab of clay still damp, like someone had smoothed it lately. There were tags hanging off pegs. Linen strips with numbers on them, neat black ink. It was like a catalog room that got bored and wrapped itself up and went to sleep. Rana said, "What is this? An archive?" "Storerooms," I said. "Goods catalog. Maybe burial records. Keep your hands off until we—" Oren cut me off, pointing. "You wrote us down." He was wrong. I told him so. But our names were on that clay slab. 4 names. In block letters, black, sunk just enough to catch our lamplight. I touched the edge. The clay was cool. My fingertip came away dusty. I don't write like that. I said someone else had been through and left a joke. It happens. Locals, thieves, some other team. The storm pushes people into holes like this all the time. "Look at the date," Carl said. It was that morning. That date. It means nothing. You know how quick people can scratch a date. I said that, and I meant it. We made a plan. Sit an hour. Let the worst of the sand pass. Radio base. I wasn't interested in their little prank. I had 3 lives on me. 4, including mine. We got water. We set the lamps in a triangle on the table to save batteries. It was fine. The drawers had little slots with cards in them. Bone frames for the cards. Done nice. Most had smudged old ink. Numbers in columns. A few had fresh cards. Crisp linen parchment. I saw, with my own eyes, one card that said, "Backpack, red, strap torn, contains 3 batteries." I laughed. Mine is red, yes, and the strap is torn because Oren borrowed it last week and ate rock with it. That didn't mean anything. We joked someone had followed us in. "Very funny," I said, louder than I needed. Rana tugged on a string hanging from the edge of a shelf. A linen tag slid, swinging. She lifted it to see the number and hissed. "Ow!" There was a little slice on her finger. Paper cuts from linen are the worst. They burn. She wiped it on her pants. I told her to leave it. You don't touch tags. Even I know that much. When we turned to go back toward the mouth to try the radio from the clearest line, a loop of linen, one of those tags, was around Cal's wrist. It wasn't there a second before. The loop jumped. That's how it looked. Like someone yanked the other end. It cinched. He cursed and pulled, and the thing bit his skin. The ink was still wet on it, and it smeared to his sweat. A black ring. Oren grabbed it and tried to tear it and got his own finger cut. I fumbled my knife and got under it. but the linen slipped like it had been waxed. We finally slid it off. The inside was slick with something cold. The number on it wasn't a number at first. I swear it was Kal. Then it was a 17-3. There. Number. That's all it was. We eased into the hall and saw the first door slide. Don't tell me they don't move on their own. Stones can move with weight and air and 100 reasons. This one went in with a grind like a cough and took our exit with it. Not all the way. A man could still fit, but the air changed. That storm push set something off. Yeah, I know what a counterweight sounds like. This wasn't that. It sounded like something tugged from the other side, like shelves being pulled square. Back room, I said. There's always another way. These are never straight in. That's why they're safe. We started marking. Chalk arrows on the floor at each turn, because you do that by habit. 2 short, 1 long, for our path out. We tied a bit of our own twine to a peg. We did all the things you say we should. In the next room, the chalk was gone. Not smeared, gone. A linen tag hung from the same crack I had drawn on. It had a number and the word marked. The ink shine looked the same shine as when I first looked at the slab. I felt the sting before I felt the blood on my knuckle. I don't remember bumping anything. I must have. The radios worked. They always work inside stone, better than you think. Akling. Short range, yes, but enough for the truck. Base didn't answer. The static came in like sand, alive. Across it I heard counting. Not my crew. Not us. Whispering, somewhere between the recesses in my ear. 1, 2, 3. Misfiled. 17. 3. I heard the numbers like an index list. It put colors to them in my head. Black ink, red stamp. Cal threw his radio at the wall. He's not a panicker. He just does things fast. Don't act like you wouldn't. We went back to the table because it was central and flat. Lauren pulled a drawer and it came out smooth. The stone on stone sounded too clean. Inside were little clay lozenges with holes, like tags. Some still had the twine through them. The labels were tight as a bank. Some were blank. He pulled a blank one, and a card from a slot, and a match. "If it's ink," he said, and lit the corner. I told him not to. You don't burn fines. He'd done it before with modern trash, not here. The flame took slow then fast, and made a black smoke that slithered. I tasted it. It felt like sucking a pin dry. The smoke went to my hand, and the ink went under my skin, a little line crawling. I smacked it like a spider. It kept going. It drew a number under my watch line on the pale skin there. It was my pallor. It wrote B12-4. I know because when I scrubbed it, the skin bled an old color, and the number didn't. It got quiet like the whole place held its breath and then put it back down. The twine bundles on the pegs swayed and then unrolled, one after the other, down the rack. No breeze. There can't be a breeze that far in. They fell in loops like it had been set to do that. I could feel the hair on my arms push up. We tried the outer hall again. The gap had closed more. The stone edge had moved in little jerks, like someone stamped it, and after each stamp, it jumped. We put our fingers in the seam and it felt greasy, like the clay from the slab had been worked into it. The slab had changed. There were no names. It was numbers now, and one title at the top like a subject. I could still make out the indent where the R had been, the way I make my R, with the leg long. You will say I made that memory up because of what came after. I didn't. We didn't have time to argue about it. We heard something drag. In the dark of the shelves to our left, chains of tags hung and touched each other and made a tiny clack-clack like teeth. "Who's there?" Rana said. "Because she does that. In public storerooms, she asks the air. She thinks it's respectful." The counting answered. 1, 2, 3, 4. It wasn't a voice. It was a whisper like a dry brush on stone. It came from the drawers. It came from the floor. It came from the tag in my pocket I didn't remember putting in there. We saw it by the second room. We didn't see a face. It wore a robe that brushed the dust and didn't leave a line. It had hands, though. Ink to the nails. One was holding a stamp. Not a modern ink pad thing. A block with a handle, carved wood, and a stone face. It had wet on it. It stood in the gap between the shelves like it had always stood there. The lamplight went up it and stopped. It smelled like book glue. I can't help the words I use. That is the closest thing. My father had a binder shop. The smell is glue and wet paper and leather. You don't forget that. Cal moved. He always did things fast. He stepped left. The figure put its free hand out and marked something in the air, like counting our places. It stamped him, right on the chest, flat between the buttons. The sound wasn't smack, it was the sound of sealing clay. Then Cal bent forward, and that stamp mark shivered under his shirt like it soaked through. He could breathe, but it wasn't right. He grabbed at it. Black spread on the cloth like water uphill. The stamp pulled his shirt in. It looked stupid and terrifying, like a child pressing. He couldn't pull the fabric back. His feet scuffed, and the thing took his elbow with 2 fingers and put him in the wall, in a niche, like he'd always been there. There was a stone drawer there I swear I hadn't seen. The hand slid, the face closed. I shouted, and my shout sounded swallowed. The stone seal made a suck, and I heard him thumping. Once, twice, 3, and then 2, and then not. "Move," I said. My voice was small. "Move, now. Move, now." Oren went long through the row. He knocked a stack of tablets to the floor, and they broke in big, soft-edged pieces like bread. The thing flinched. That's the first time it acted like we mattered. It turned its stamp hand and was there at Oren's back in 3 steps it shouldn't have had room to make. It pushed him. Not hard. Like putting a folio in a case. He went in a different hole. The drawer face slid. His hand was out for a second. His fingers were gray with dust. There was a linen strip in his mouth with a number on it, and his teeth were clenched on it like a bit. The door shut. Don't tell me I missed it. It happened like placing a book and closing a lid. That was all. Rana stood very still. Her eyes were on the stamp. She is smart like that. If you pretend to be what a thing wants to see, sometimes it lets you be. The whisper counting kept going. 1, 2, 3. Wrong, I thought. It counted wrong. We were 2 at best. Maybe that's what saved us then. It hates wrong count. The hands moved in a tiny, angry motion. It put the stamp down on the edge of the shelf, lifted 2 fingers, moved them in a line. A small action, like lining up cards. It wanted us in certain places. I could feel it like a tug on the belt. I stepped where my body wanted without thinking. Rana stepped to her left. The counting smoothed. 1, 2. It was satisfied with the pattern. It hates when you make your own. Don't let it put you in a drawer, I said. It was stupid to say. She squeezed my sleeve. I felt her nails. I had the stupid thought that my wrist itched under my watch from the ink. I felt the cold from it. The number was there. B124. I didn't look. If you don't read it, maybe it isn't yours. We bolted the wrong way. The counting spiked. The twine on the pegs leaped. That is not the word, but that's what it did. It fell out and around and caught my ankle like a tug from a child under a rack. I went down. The stamp hand hit the shelf near my head and made a clean, wet sound. I saw the stamp face close. It had words. I can still see them. They were upside down to me, but I can see them. Reference only, / do not circulate. Plain block, like you see on reading room stamps. I tried to roll and the linen grabbed my thighs. It felt like being wrapped for shipping. I know how to cut linen. You pull against it and work the knife under. It slid like it was greased. It cut me more than it cut it. Parchment cuts up my palms, shallow and mean. I smelled that glue again. The stamp pressed my wrist, not my chest. The cold went in like a nail. The words pushed into my skin and through and out the other side. It felt like water on both sides. I yelled. I told you I don't yell. I yelled. Something slammed in the wall somewhere. Doors, lids, stones. The storm shoved then. You can tell a storm shoved through thick walls by your teeth. The air went hard. There are vents in those places. You know it. They don't make sealed boxes unless they mean to. A little square in the room, up a bit clacked bigger. It didn't open like a lid. It bumped. The second bump shoved dust in my face. The thing's head turned toward the sound. It let its hand rest a second on my stamped wrist. It was like a warning and like a promise. It straightened the twine on me. You know that straightening thing like a librarian with a stack? The little pat-pat. Then it pulled me by that same twine, firm, and slid me along the floor. I dug my heels into the gritty stone and it didn't matter. It put me right under the vent. Please, Rana said. Her voice was flat. Because she is smart. She doesn't waste the break. She followed, on her feet. It did not look at her. It was counting wrong again because of Orin and Cal. And it hated it. And that hate was a hum in the stone. The vent face tipped with the next push. A tongue of storm came in, a small one, and flipped my notebook pages near my chest. Don't say I left the notebook. I had it in my shirt pocket. Habit. I log as I go. The pages went flit, flit, flit. The stamp on my wrist went colder. It wet the paper edge when I pushed up and it touched. The words on my skin darkened when the pages lifted, like the moving air woke them. I jammed my fingers under the vent block, and the wet on my wrist greased me enough to shove. It tipped. The storm found purchase and took it. It did not fly out. It lifted like a drawer and clacked down on the outside. It wasn't luck. This is the part you won't like. It wanted me through that hole right then. It stopped the count until I went. It reached its skinny ink hand past me and straightened a tag near my face with 2 light taps. Order. Please get that. Order. I went up like a bad birth. The stone scraped my back and my elbows. It was sick air, sand air, but it was a choice. Rana tried after me. The twine moved and she didn't get to the hole. It lifted her by a shoulder and set her to the left. I saw her mouth open round and round, and there was a strip between her teeth. Dry cough. I couldn't make my body go back in. I am telling you the truth. I did not leave her. I did not choose to. It stamped my wrist again and my hand went dumb. I was outside. The wind slammed me to the ground. I slid in the grit. The canvas we had hung was gone. There was just a rectangle of dark and the moving air. I had a second where I could have shoved the vent block back. Maybe. I didn't. The hand pulled it from the inside like it had a thread on it and put it back where it lived. The stamp on my wrist felt icy and wet for hours. The storm howled and then faded to hiss. I lay in the lee of the wall with my arm over my face, and I tasted glue and ink and dust. When I crawled to the truck, the sands had crusted around the tires. I dug them out with my hands. I drove without a radio because the static still whispered numbers, and I didn't want them in my ears anymore. I didn't look back. I know where the place is. I didn't mark it for you. Don't ask. You'll just go and make more drawers full. I went through my notes later. Of course I did. I had to write something down so it wasn't only noise. I wanted to see what we had seen. I had drawn the slab. I always copy a ledger, even for a laugh. Don't act like that's not thorough. On the page there were the 4 names, and then there were the numbers replacing them. And at the top, in my own block, the title. I had not written it. That's what I told myself. I was furious that I had moved my hand and not known. The letters were mine. The long-legged R, the short 7 with a cross, the way I crowd the left margin when the paper's damp. It said, "Survives by restriction." Under it was the date. The day we went in. Not the day I wrote it, not some vague. The exact day and hour notation I use. I don't write prophecies. I don't write jokes like that. I didn't. And when I set that notebook on the table by the window to get the grit out, a light wind went through the room. The pages turned, just a few. The stamp on my wrist went cold, like wet again, and the ink darkened. You can sit there and tell me I did this to us. You can tell me I dragged them in. We would have died under that sky if we'd stayed. I knew it was safe as any hole. It should have been. I was right. It kept the order. It let me out because I was stamped. It needed a reference. There aren't many men who can say a ghost put them on a shelf and then decided to let them be. I didn't ask for that. I'm not going back. The number is under my watch now. The skin over it wrinkles the same way the clay on that slab looked when someone pressed a thumb to smooth it. When the wind finds a page near me and flips it, the stamp wakes up. It wants quiet and correct places. It can have them. It can keep them. I will not move its tags. I will not touch its drawers. That ledger was always right. It wrote what I would be in the line my hand makes, and I hate that. And it doesn't matter. The black shines more when the paper moves, and then it goes dull. It's dry as a bone now. I'm fine. Don't tell me I'm not. And every story has a price. For this one, it's simple. A like and a subscribe. That's how we keep the ritual going. Miss a step, and the next upload might not find you. See you in the next one.